Hello, nerdy neighbors. Welcome back to the Nerdy Neighborhood and welcome back to your Friendly Neighborhood Comic Show. I'm your host, Lauren, your Friendly Neighborhood Bi, and I'm joined by another indie comic creator today. We've got Brandon. I want to say your name right. I have to look at my paper. Brandon Starroci. You're going to have to beat me up for that one because
I think you were going to get it the second time.
Starroci, is that it?
Starroci. I think you're going to correct it, yeah.
This shows I'm an American because any European would have gotten that correct. European. Yeah. Well, welcome, Brandon. It is so great to have you. You are obviously part of Avalon Comics. You know, what is Avalon Comics?
Avalon is a post-apocalyptic comic book that has a little bit of something for everyone. You know, you follow the Castle family through this nightmarish kind of journey for everlasting safety. We kind of want to take away just following a specific character's hero journey. We wanted to kind of center around the whole family and the world itself. So we like to consider those two as the main characters rather than a specific character being the person that we go for. But big apocalypse, like to bring down everybody, all that good stuff.
You sent me the first 3 issues,
Yes.
Which I really enjoyed reading. I really enjoy how fresh this feels because the premise of, different family issues with a lot of action and things like that, it's something we see a lot of. I think especially we're seeing a resurgence of it after like John Wick apparently influenced that somehow, even though, crazy. But so what kind of, drew you guys to say, even though we've got this, story that can be widely competitive because a lot of people are kind of writing similar themes, we still think that these themes need to be told in the way we've got it written so far and drawn?
Sure. No, it's definitely a fair question, because obviously the zombie genre could be very, very flooded, and one of the things that Alan and I early on, we wanted to kind of make sure we separated ourselves from others is really try to ground this in as much reality as possible, as much as you can in a fictional world. And that's kind of the big thing that we hold ourselves onto. And it's really just, all the realism, the way people talk, the way people act, the stresses and anxieties that people actually deal with, like mental health and, real life physical issues that people deal with and have to take medications for and all that stuff as well. We wanted to make that a real part of the story rather than like other things that I've loved and watched in the past, but they show these things, but they kind of just like, okay, this person has this and it gets pushed to the side. But these are going to be big kind of storytelling elements for us. We're not going to be just showing you something and then going like, okay, that's it. This person has that, you'll never see it again. But those are the things that we really pride ourselves in with our story, and we really want to keep moving forward with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I think that resonates for me as well. I'm all about stories that have supernatural elements or really out of this world elements, but they keep the humanity as well within. And you guys on this Kickstarter here talk about, dealing with bullying and mental health, physical health and well-being, realistic consequences for actions, which I'm going to be honest, I don't see a lot of in comics. So what kind of drew you to those specific realistic effects? Because there's so many realistic elements that you could have honed in on.
Because the biggest thing for me when Alan and I were originally figuring this thing out is, we watch these shows, we love these shows and these comics and all that stuff in the zombie genre, but it was always like they have plot armor. They have like this character needs to go through this certain journey to make it or whatever it is, and then maybe they die or maybe they don't. But at least with ours, we're making, again, we're not following a specific character. It's the family right now, and the world, honestly, to us is a bigger character in itself. That world is going to be dictating what's happening to these characters. Their decisions are going to be dictating that. So they're not really going to have a plot armor-ish kind of deal with our story moving forward. Like if any one of us, you or me, makes a bad decision, we get bad consequences with it, so that's kind of what's going to be happening here. When we get into the writing room, we look at the season as a whole. What do we want? We don't kind of come up with any deaths or character deaths yet. We figure out what we want in the season, and then we kind of break it down. And if what we have kind of steers towards a certain character dying that you never would have thought could have died or had something seriously happen to them, then that's going to happen. It's the world dictates it, not so much the characters or us making sure they have plot armor or something like that.
I love that, and it reminds me of when one of my siblings was like creating like their own version of like the DC universe or something. They're very big in DC, and they were writing like rewriting things like Crisis and the New 52 and things like that. And at one point they went, Lauren, I hate to tell you this, but I think I just accidentally killed 3 people that I never wanted to kill. And I was like, how do you accidentally, as the writer, kill somebody? And I think it very much speaks to exactly what you're saying. You're authentically trying to tell the story, authentically let it grow and generate as necessary. And at one point, you're just like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's honestly a perfect way to kind of explain it, you know, in that way, particularly. Is that world is deciding it, not so much us. You know, obviously we are writing it and doing all that stuff too, but we're not writing it. We're not sitting there like, okay, we have the season goal, and then this ends up leading to this person dying. We're like, oh no, that can't happen. We're not killing this. It's not going to happen like that. It's going to happen in the way that it naturally kind of progresses, and the decisions that they make and all that stuff when we break it down issue to issue and so on. You know, obviously there's a beginning and there's a goal that is where they're going to be going towards, but who makes it to that goal? You know what I mean? It ain't going to be everybody, you know, and if you've read the last 3 issues already, so you're going to already easily tell that, you know, we're not going to say specifically, but it kind of tells you right away that there ain't any plot armor. It's they're going towards a goal, and whoever makes it makes it. Kind of like the pacer test, you know, everybody hated in gym class, you know.
Like, that's actually perfect. You start slowly seeing people weed out, even though you're like, but I thought they'd be okay. Like, they're in good shape. What the hell? And
you thought you were like the hero, I guess. Like, okay, I'm gonna make it to the end. I'm the main protagonist, and then you hit like round 10, and you're like, oh, screw this, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. But yeah.
As somebody who used to teach high school gym classes and all that, the pacer test is the worst. It is horrendous, and it's not even that helpful, so it can go away. But one thing, so on this cover here, it's kind of hard to read just because of how small the screen is, but there's a tagline you have on here that says, breathe, it's going to get worse. Not it's only going to get worse, not you're just like straight up, it's going to get worse. And I think that's a great way to describe this series in an honest way, and just be like, we're really leaning into we're going to allow this universe to develop. If somebody's going to die, whether we like it or not, if that's how it needs to evolve, that's what's going to happen. It's really hard to see real stakes like that, even in comic books where you would think there should be the most real stakes are in the comics.
Right. No, and I agree with that. And the thing, and you could look at this title in so many different ways. Obviously, for the reader, breathe, it's only going to get worse, you know, or it's not, I take out the word only, it's going to get worse. It's, you know what I mean? So as a reader, you could see it like that, you know, and there's other things as well. When you scroll down, we added a little snippet of one of the characters that has asthma, you know, so it's just another thing. And we wanted to really show that, to show people that, look, this is something that this character is going to have to deal with. Obviously, this is Mason, if you've read it already, that he's going to have to deal with going forward. And it comes down to that everlasting question where when we get to a certain point in this apocalypse, what happens when we cannot get inhalers anymore? Or what happens when we cannot get our daily medications anymore? Or we run out, or whatever it is. And there's going to be other things in the future that certain characters that we've already met have medications they have to take, but what happens when that runs out? And it's just a real life question, because I've always been a fan of the genre. I've always been a fan of like the end of the world kind of thing. And I've always like asked myself, how would I make out in this? Or how would I do with my family and all that stuff, or friends, or whatever it might be in this situation? So that was the big thing for this as well, is a lot of people in my family, and I know obviously a lot of people in general, deal with these kind of problems. So it's the best way to tell this story and ask yourself, how would you pan out in this kind of world that we're creating? But it's going to be fun-ish, I guess, but not so much for the characters inside the book.
And so I actually have asthma. And I remember like one of the last times I went to my partner's house, I left my inhaler at home and I didn't want to drive back and go get it. So I was like, I literally cannot strenuate myself at all, because if I need my inhaler and I have to drive 30 minutes to go get it, I'm screwed. And so that actual like, crap, I need to be more careful until I, do that. Moments like this are so real. And I think during the pandemic, a lot of us experienced those things, unfortunately, right? But now
Sure,
that we've
yeah.
kind of gotten used to the pandemic, people say it's done and it's not. But we got used
Right.
to it. You know, we don't always think about these things as much anymore, depending on who you are. So I really like that realism here, even though some people maybe turned away for some reason because it's too real. I think we need that while also getting to see blood and zombies everywhere.
Yeah, right.
Because there you go. There's the part that's not real. We're not there yet, guys. So you're still removed.
Exactly. And the fact that you brought up the pandemic, we were writing this before the pandemic, but going through that and how that was a very, very real moment for everybody in the world, honestly. And to kind of go through that and go through the ups and downs of that. I mean, not really ups, but the downs of that. It brings that like realism to Avalon and in this kind of conversation where it's like we've all dealt with it. We could all relate into this comic in some way, shape, or form because, like you mentioned as well, you need an inhaler as well, and you can kind of relate to some things that Mason is dealing with and all that stuff going forward. But it's just a good way for everybody to feel involved in this comic book that we're making.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how most of this comic is in black and white, at least issues 1 through 3 that I've seen, and here we see it too. But you've got the blood that we can see directly in the red. So I'm curious as to, I know you wrote it, but if you even have any idea as to why that was chosen in terms of, did you want to stand out? Is it just so you can actually tell it's blood? Like
but for both reasons. And the idea was, because I was a big fan of the Walking Dead comic books, that was all black and white. And then reading that, it was not so much annoying to me. I don't want to say it was like annoying, and I was like, I hate it because of that. But it was just like little thing, like where it's like, I can't tell you can tell, but like, it was like, I want to see it pop, So that was a big goal of ours. And an obvious thing as well is it's a little bit cheaper to do black and white than to do all color. And so I was like, Alan and I were kind of figuring out, we're like, why don't we do black, white, and, have the blood pop? And I think it was a very, very good idea. I think what makes it all that much better is to have Demetrius, our artist, and how he shows it. It makes it so much more better. It makes it better than the idea could have been. He really makes it pop. How the blood, I've heard people say like the blood literally looks wet on paper, and the way he kind of draws it and all that stuff too. It just pops. It looks great. And the way he does it makes that idea 1,000 times, or it supersedes that idea by 1,000 times. So he does a phenomenal job. I always give him credit there. He's great. He's a great artist. I'm glad we have him.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because, in comics, there are situations where people draw like very animated looking blood or very over the top, grotesque blood. But you really have a great point here where the blood looks more realistic. Because that's what you're going for in this world. It's still an escapism, a fake world, but it needs to feel like it's gonna like, oh my God, that's blood on the page.
Yeah, right. And again, like, and the greatest thing, one of the great things that Demetrius brings to Avalon as well is how gritty and dark it is. And one of these feels that originally that I wanted to bring to this as well is the movie 30 Days of Night. Not so much the comic book. They had a different art style, but it was just that dark, gritty kind of look in the movie, the first one. And I really love that movie, and I wanted to kind of bring this as well. And he just does that naturally with his artwork, and it was just a win-win for me, I guess, to kind of want that kind of specific thing implemented in this. And he just does a phenomenal job and just breaks it down and makes it dark, makes it look good and gritty and all that as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one of my favorite things that happens in this series at one point, issue 3 specifically, is towards the end of that, there's a really big event that happens with our main character directly, who's just trying to keep himself alive, keep his buddy alive, try to keep his family alive and all this stuff. And with that significant moment, it reminded me a lot of the book The Giver, which I know people have all kinds of thoughts because we all had to read it. It's fine. But I liked that book when I read it in school. And one of my favorite parts is when you had the black and white world, and then towards the end, they get to see color. And so we have some more color that comes into play in a certain moment in that issue. And it just knocked it out of the park. It really, for me as a reader, made it feel much more real. It made me feel even heavier, the impact of that moment and how drastically awful it was, and
Yeah.
also how well done it was. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
mention that, and a full kudos to you guys and the entire team.
Thank you.
Because that was just pure genius to me. I love shit
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. You know, obviously, to have, again, I bring Demetrius back in it, to have him execute it the way he does, you know, it makes it all that much better. The ideas are always great, but to have him execute those ideas is what makes it a lot better. And obviously, that's going to be our thing moving forward. Each issue will have that splash of color at the end to kind of signify that big kind of moment there. And obviously, with the end of issue 3 there, it was a result of what happened at the end of issue 2. And you kind of see that moment with Andy, and so obviously with the last 2 issues, issues 2 and 3, issues 4 and 5 kind of pick up and answer those questions that were left there in those last couple issues there, and they're pretty dramatic, they're pretty gut wrenching, and you're gonna have to see these characters go through a real serious part of this world already, you know, and this is all in basically one night, you know, so this is a very big gut punch to them. And to everybody in this world, honestly, but obviously we follow this family, so it's just a really big gut punch to them, and you get to read and see how they deal with it and move forward, or if they even do.
Yeah, and I love this cover for issue 5 because it's interesting, the stylistic choice to me. You got the big zoom out on his eye, you got the family photos and the blood around him, which I absolutely love that emphasis. But you've also got like tears coming down his eyes, but it's not just a single tear. It's not a gazillion pulled apart. It's just like this big glob, and you got like that. That was so cool. Where'd the concept of this cover come from?
Honestly, this was so what I've noticed, at least from the last couple issues here, is I've just given Demetrius a few points that I want to have on the covers, and he just takes it away. You know, this was all him. You know, there's a specific moment in this issue here, issue 5, that you're showing right here, that really intrigued Demetrius and trying to make it kind of pop like he did here. And this has got to be one of my favorite covers so far that he's done for me. But you know, and it shows so much, you know, obviously you could see the old photos, you could see the past, you know, and all that stuff as well. You could see the bullets, you could see the blood, you could see the teardrop, like you said, you know, it signifies the loss that you've already kind of seen. And, you know, you see medication there as well. You see pills kind of popping out on the page there. So it's just more stuff that you're going to be learning about, you know, Andy's character specifically in this, you know, beginning part here, and seeing more of the realism, more of the stuff that people need on a day-to-day basis to kind of get by, and now that's going to be stripped from them because this world that is here. Yeah,
absolutely. How many issues is this? Is issue 5 going to be the last, or are we getting more after issue 5?
No, we're so issue 6 will be the final issue of the season 1. That'll come out at the end of the year here, and then we're going to be at the beginning of next year. We're looking at doing a trade paperback and really marketing that and getting that out to people, because I know that has a bigger market for rather than the single issues, to a bigger wide majority. I know the hardcore comic guys and girls love to have the issues. I do. You know, I have look like straight ahead of here, I have a huge table filled with comic book issues, and it's just like wow, yeah. But it's going to be ongoing for right now. We added a new writer. Her name is Callie Oberlander, and she's going to be helping out with season 2 and so on. Nice. And she brings a lot to us, and with the mental health and all that stuff as well. She has her own podcast that kind of deals with that as well, and we're very glad to have her as part of the team and kind of really dive in deeper to these characters that are already created and the issues that are already with these characters, and really bring those out in the next season coming up.
Yeah, I love hearing comic book creators say like season 1 and season 2 of a series. Yeah. I think that's such a great way to kind of separate, you know, story arcs and things like that. I think TV kind of has it right a lot of times, and often I've seen in the past comic books, especially ongoings, they follow kind of like a movie model instead, even though if you're an ongoing, you should probably do seasons.
Yeah, right. No, I agree with that as well. It just sounds more natural and easier for me to understand it. You know, I know the volumes kind of go different ways, and, you know, and all that stuff as well. I think it's easier for me to understand. And like you said, it's probably for most where seasons make more sense, especially now more than ever, because the way TV is nowadays, everybody's watching 1,000 different shows, and they already know it, the concept. So it's just kind of taking that good concept that's already there and just applying it to the comic book that we're making here, and just be like, okay, this is the season 1. now you're going to get a new season and so on. But
yeah, that makes a ton of sense, especially for comics where I know a lot of people when they're first even just trying to get into comics, they feel overwhelmed, right? They're like, oh my God, there's too much. Like, what do I do? What do I like? I got nothing. And so having seasons can kind of help with that and say, this season's about this, I think that can help bring in new readers. So I am super excited for this comic for Avalon. I'm super excited to see this issue get funded and then the 6th. And I'm really excited to hear you guys are already working on season 2. So I love hearing how in this you guys are. This isn't just something you're doing, every day when you get something new, you're doing it as in it's built up over time. And every day is building up over past stuff you've already considered.
Right. Yeah. And that's the best part about this. In my head, I have many arcs to kind of fulfill and make sure it happens. And obviously with the team around me, I want to make sure we all are on the same page of making this thing the best thing that we can make it, and we all have our jobs to do. And it's a great feeling to have a good team around you and make sure the book that we're all working on gets everything out, and really shows the readers and all that stuff that this is what it is. It's here to stay and so on.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you guys are funding this through Kickstarter. Are there any fun rewards or exclusives or anything that you guys want to share?
Yeah, there's actually a bunch of fun things that we're going to be doing with it. Demetrius is from Greece, so he's quite a bit of ways there, and we kind of agreed on making this cool kind of pledge for people that he made this 11x17 original character print of duo characters. I'll show you one right here.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's a little bigger, but so
that's awesome.
So Miller and Andy right there, and we do all the characters that we've already met so far, and it's a fun thing. It comes with a huge bundle of things, all the PDFs, the issues that we're kind of putting out right now, and the variants as well, and that big poster, that original 1-of-1 poster. We're going to do our own thing to kind of solidify that it is exclusive. It is a 1-of-1. And kind of put a certificate in there, custom certificate that we're kind of acknowledging that it is what it is.
Oh, that's awesome. People love certificates. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
they like having the proof that it's one.
Like, look, yes, it's right here. But there's much to look at here and kind of grab for everybody. The unfortunate thing is we just currently sold out of all of our issue 1s, and we have to move forward and kind of buy more physical prints. So we don't have a physical catch-up tier, but we do have our PDFs. And a good note as well for people who do love their PDFs or their physical copies is we have a variant cover catch-up bundle where it comes with the issue 2 variant, 3 variant, 4 and 5 variant. So you get basically right there, you get all 4 of those variants, and then as soon as that issue 1 physical comes into our possession, you can buy it on our store and all that stuff. Or if it comes before the Kickstarter even ends, we're definitely going to put it in there as a tier as well.
Nice. And then you got this whole giant bundle of everything. And for $50, I mean, you really can't beat that. That's a hell of a steal, especially for all these Kickstarter comics.
Exactly. Yeah. It was one of those things where we're playing around with the prices and all that stuff too, and we found it to be best. It's a very affordable price. You get a lot with it, so it's just a nice fun thing for anybody new that, or even like for anybody new that's like wants to give it a shot. We have that catch-up PDF bundle for $20 only. It's a good deal to just try us out and see if you like what we got and like what we're doing and all that good stuff. But that's the original character sketches we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love original art because especially with how digital everything's going, I mean, considering it's hard, like, to get original art. And I hadn't thought about this until like early this year, but you can't just like go up to any artist now and say, can I have original art of this? Because 3/4 of the time they're going to say, I did it digitally only.
Well, yeah, that
so I can send you that, but it's not going to be on paper, so you can't get on paper original art easily anymore.
Yeah, and that was a fun thing that I'm glad that he was able to do, and like to even that note that you're mentioning as well is there's all these artists are so busy with time, they're not going to sit down and because pencil takes a lot longer anyways, because you have to really make sure you're doing it right and all that. It's a lot easier. I wouldn't say easier because there's no way I would be able to do it, but it's a lot easier to the artist to do it digitally and kind of get it all done digitally as well. But it's a fun thing. It really is, and I'm glad he was able to do it and send them, and we have them here. So there's no wait for that. There's no like, oh, I'm not sure if you're going to get it. They're all here and ready to go too.
I love it. And that's a nice thing too, because I know with some people for Kickstarters, they're kind of antsy about, because they're like, well, will I actually get these things fulfilled? Will I get it within a timely manner? Because there are unfortunately Kickstarters that aren't ran well once they're funded. So it's really encouraging to always hear that it's like, nope, it's already on the board, it's on the docket, it's happening.
There's no way around it. It's here, it's happening no matter what. And this is a fun one that kind of Callie came up with, and obviously we had to see if Demetrius was okay with it. But it's a big thing. But what comes with it is all the goodie bag stuff, and you're getting signed issues 4 and 5 variants, and you get your whatever character want. If somebody wanted to use themselves, for instance, like you're going to get Demetrius making your person, whoever you want him to make, in an action shot, all done up in the black, white, and blood, so you kind of feel like you're in that world of Avalon as well. And it's just going to be a cool action shot that he's going to do of you. If you loved Demetrius's artwork, it's a good way to kind of get him to do whatever you want. If it's you or whatever it is, you're going to be in this world basically fighting these things and all that stuff. So it's going to be some cool thing that he does for someone who gets this.
Yeah, I love it. Well, any other cool awards we need to know about?
Basically, that would be it. It just, other than the small little add-ons, is basically just all those things individualized, and you can get shirts and all that good stuff. And basically, that would be it overall. And then we have our stretch goals, obviously, to kind of hit those. And I'm most excited about the bookmark one. I don't know why, but myself and I know a lot of people do love their foil bookmarks. It's just like a cool thing.
I'll say foil. You don't see foil bookmarks a lot, that's for sure. So it's just a cool thing to me, and I know for some reason a lot of other people like it as well. It's just a weird thing to like, but it's a cool thing. I like it too. I don't know why. I'm excited. I mean, again, foil. I mean, the only thing better than foil bookmark is a foil cover. So maybe season 2 we'll see that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely in the works and the plans too. I'm a big fan of foil covers as well. Even going to the comic store and all that stuff too. They're very fun things to have, and they're very exclusive as well. So that's a big thing that we're looking forward to doing in the future with Avalon, having that blood really pop as well, and using that red foil.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Brandon. It is so lovely to have you on. Please share any last minute things you want to share about the Kickstarter, and feel free to plug yourself and all that good stuff.
Yeah, obviously we just started this Kickstarter. We have this comic book we've had 3 comics let me rephrase that. We've had 3 Kickstarters in the past that we've successfully funded and all that stuff. We got them all out there for people that donated and all that stuff as well. And we thank everybody for that, because we wouldn't be where we are today without all of them. The idea of Avalon is always going to be there. It's always going to come out. The reason we do these Kickstarters are to come out in a timely fashion. So everybody that does back us and help us out in all that way, we greatly appreciate it in every way possible. Just check us out if you're just kind of like you like the artwork. The artwork looks great. It looks wonderful. I'm glad we have them. If you just like it for that alone, just try the PDF. See if you like the storyline and all that stuff too. It's a nice cheap bundle for people to grab and kind of see what we're about. But other than that, we're on all social media platforms. Just look up Avalon Comic. You'll see us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Redbubble, YouTube and all that good
Redbubble.
Stuff. Yeah. But so yeah, that's basically that.
Awesome. Well, everybody that's watching this later, I will put all those links in the description below. So if you're super duper lazy like me, you can just click like 5, maybe 6 times and you're getting some comics. I mean, what more could you want? It's basically like curbside assistance for comics. We've got you. Right. Well, thanks again, Brandon. Always appreciate you. Welcome to the Nerd Neighborhood. We are happy to have you. Nerdy neighbors watching this later, be sure to go back, support the campaign, tweet it out, Facebook it, whatever verb for social media you do. Just go ahead and do that. I know they will really appreciate it. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All that super cheesy but important stuff that helps us grow and continue supporting indie creators like Brandon here. And we'll see you guys next time in the Nerdy Neighborhood.